This is Tony Chimmel, and I'd like to introduce the hosts of the Game Marks podcast, George Feis and Johnny Clash.
Welcome to the Game Marks podcast, where each and every week we take the deep dive into the good, the bad, and the awesome of wrestling video games. I'm the man they call Johnny Clash.
And I am George Feis, and today we are playing Super Fire Pro Wrestling 2 for the Super Famicom. We also discuss WWE 2K24 DLC, the return of Clash at the Feast, and a whole lot more.
And please subscribe and leave a 5-star review for this podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And follow us on all forms of social media at Game Marks Pod. Don't forget, you can get this episode early and ad-free along with our show exclusives at patreon.com/podexchange, along with show notes, Discord access, live recordings, giveaways, and so much more from our friends Going Postal and State of Affairs. What's up, Georgia boy?
How are we doing, man? We gotta get into follow-up because I'm still not over celebrity combat.
It was definitely one of the weirder games we've ever played, not only on this show but in general. And like I admitted on the show, I've played Celebrity Deathmatch, I've played Simpsons Wrestling. We've played some pretty bad and some pretty weird games.
Like, I'd rather play Super Brawl.
Oh, 100% would rather play Super Brawl.
But on the bright side, silver lining to that episode, finally got to do something with our friends over at Space Zamboni. Been talking about doing an episode with them for a long time, and
4 years.
Finally able to do it. The stars, the planets, whatever you want to say, aligned, and hopefully not the last time we were able to hang out with the crew over at Space Zamboni. But let's talk about some gaming news going on. AEW Figure Fighters, a game that we briefly had spoken about in the past. You and I are part of the open alpha beta testing of the game. It's now live. Have you played it since launch, and what do you think?
No, so I had the same effect that I had when Elite GM came out, where I did play a bunch of the beta. So the real game came out, and you got to start fresh, and I was like, I don't really feel like doing the tutorial. I don't feel like doing this again. I will do it eventually, and I will dive into the game. Just, it's not going to be at this moment.
Right, all right. I have it installed. Yeah. I have yet to dive in yet.
Yeah, from what I've seen, especially in our Discord, people seem to somewhat be enjoying it. It's at least cool unlocking the new characters and just checking them out, seeing what they look like in figure form, even though they're not, like we said, they don't look like the Jazzwares figures. They're something unique.
Their own thing.
As far as I know, I don't think there's something that's going to come out.
They're almost kind of like the Rumblers. Is that what they are? What's the thing that had Ray and like there's Broski and a 2-pack with like?
I think they're Rumblers. I feel like we talk about this so many times.
I can never remember what it, because there's the Rumblers that are the shorter figures with the big hands, and then there's something else that like that turned into, but that's what I'm thinking of. It's like the over exaggerated hand short minifigures.
But with the faces of like the pop vinyls, not the Funko Pops, like the pops, the vinyls,
like the rock
guys.
Candy or like the vinyl figures.
Yeah, the vinyls. But I don't know, pretty cool. We'll see what happens with it, see how long it lasts. It definitely is the most clean game they've put out yet. It's the most
first one that
together.
Feels original.
It feels complete.
Yeah.
It's got a concept, it works.
Clean is a good word that you use. That's a good description of it.
It doesn't look like one of those jumbly mobile games where there's just stuff everywhere, all over the screen. It's pretty straightforward. It's not like that other game they put out a few months ago that's just, I don't even know what the hell the point of it is.
It feels like a mobile game in like the best sense of that word.
Very similar to some of the WWE games they put out. Undisputed, was that it? Or I don't know.
Mayhem.
That's the one we were talking about. Yeah, so check it out. Free to download. I'm sure they'll want you to pay for some things, but you don't have to. George, I sent this to you yesterday. Speaking of paying for things, I finally hit infinity on Marvel Snap.
Yes, you did, buddy.
You know why?
Congratulations.
Do you know why?
You bought the Battle Pass.
Because I bought the Battle Pass with the card of the month, and all this time I'm like, I could do it without that, but I haven't been able to. And then finally, I was like, I actually like this card, so I'm gonna get it.
What was the card? Blink.
Yeah, like the past few haven't been that great, but Blink it's tremendous, and I finally did it. So that's how I feel when we talk about pay to win, like all these WWE mobile games, and maybe this game coming out that just came out. I don't know, but it definitely does. It does pay to win.
I don't know. It's Snap. I don't think Snap's pay to win. I think it just incentivizes you to play more.
It's pay to win when you get the card that's pretty OP.
That's true, but I always feel like especially with Snap, you need like the planets to. That's twice I'm using this. You need everything to like fall into place perfectly. Where like you need the better supporting cards, which I guess if you play a lot, you climb through the collector boxes and stuff. You have so many of the other types of cards that building a deck is no problem. Where
streaming 3 days a week, guys. Find me Twitch.
What is it? Johnny Clash with 2 H's?
2 H's because I'm not Triple H.
Oh, that'd be great.
Enough plugging me. Let's plug ourselves. Let's talk about what's going on our YouTube channel right now.
Ooh.
GMP24 still rolling on. We had our go home show to our pay-per-view Reloaded. Reloaded's coming out this week. It's a full episode of just match after match, bangers after bangers. We're going to crown some champions. It's going to be fun, and I can't wait to do more. We're on our road to the second pay-per-view.
I think what we said that we're going to do is with every DLC pack, there's an option to...
I think we should just draft the DLC pack and then halfway through do a draft of like a little shake-up.
Okay, yeah, a little shake. We can choose to maybe not renew some contracts or trade in some contracts. Or
oh boy, George, I don't know who's going to get the first pick if they're going to pick CM Punk or Terry Funk.
Or you can get Sandman.
Oh, yeah, wow, what a pack. But we'll figure it out. We'll make it worth it.
We'll make it work.
But also, Clash at the Feast came back.
Oh, Patreon.
Check out our Patreon. We had a best of 7 series in No Mercy. It was
the most fun I've had doing a Clash at the Feast in years.
This new format is great. It works. Go check it out. We're not going to give away any spoilers.
It's so much fun.
So much fun. It translates to the screen because I can't even get into it. Just go check it out. It's great. And watch us go head to head. And you know what that means, George? No, we'll talk off air. Almost spoiled something there.
Okay.
All right.
Well, let's talk about this. The first, we talked about GMP 24. We got to talk about the first DLC pack for 2K24 released. It is the ECW Punk pack. Came out on the 15th, and you're getting CM Punk, the Dudley Boys, Sandman, Terry Funk, and then you're also getting ECW Paul Heyman manager card and all of the DLC superstars in my faction. They also added new weapons, light tubes, and barbed wire bat.
Light tubes, yeah, fireballs and
stuff. I think they're in their like best. Like this is like the best generation of this game now, where now you're getting a great creative suite. You're getting a very rewarding showcase. You're getting not only DLC packs, but additional content that comes with the DLC packs to kind of even like sweeten the pot to make even more sense. And now that makes me think, I wonder what else is going to come. Like, what other updates do they have planned? What other content can they add that goes along with the other DLC packs? If this is going to be something that happens throughout the rest of the year, because DLC packs go until like November, I think is the last one.
Yeah, I feel like that's a good amount of time to get stuff and then just coast on into the next game.
Yeah, the last DLC pack is the WCW pack, comes out November 13th. So
So it's only 5 months until the next game's going to release. So I think that's cool. That's fine. Gives you a lot to do in that year that the game comes out, which is not a lot if you think about it. And I still hate that that's a thing. That then again, when we don't get that, we get Fight Forever. So it's a double-edged sword. We don't know what we want. We need
happy medium. Somewhere in
the
middle.
Lindsay? What do you want?
Somewhere in the middle, there's a happy medium where everyone can be happy, but we just haven't gotten there yet.
I don't know. Maybe one day.
But with that, John, are you ready to do the deep dive into this week's game?
Oh boy, am I. Looking to add the newest wrestling figures to your lineup? There's no better spot to pick up your next figure than the Wrestling Collector Shop.
Started by collectors for collectors around the globe, Wrestling Collector Shop has been serving the fans the latest and greatest in wrestling action figures since 2002. So the next time you're looking for the newest wrestling collectible to add to your collection, make sure go to WrestlingCollectorShop.com and use code GameMarks to save yourself 10% on your order.
That's 10% off your order with code GameMarks at WrestlingCollectorShop.com.
All right, the deep dive brought to you by our friends over at Wrestling Collector Shop. You just heard the ad. Use code GameMarks to save yourself 10%. John, what is the social giveaway for this week?
All right, so last week we gave away a Cora Jade figure by liking and retweeting and following on Twitter, now officially X. They finally changed the URL, so I guess we should stop saying that. This week, head on over to our Instagram at GameMarksPod. Find the pinned post. It's got the picture of the episode artwork, and this is what I want you to do. I want you to follow us. I want you to comment green, and you're entered to win this Chelsea Green figure from Wrestling Collector Shop.
There's just something about you doing the Chelsea Green intro.
Like, it's on SmackDown now, so we don't get to hear it.
It's true.
Yeah, so I got to do it.
It pops me. It gets me.
Yeah, good.
All right, here we go. Super Fire Pro Wrestling 2, released December 25th, 1992 for the Super Famicom, developed and published by Human Entertainment. Other games in the wrestling universe in 1992. You've got WWF Superstars 2, WWF European Rampage Tour, WWF Super WrestleMania, WWF WrestleMania Steel Cage Challenge, Thunder Pro Wrestling Retsuden, and Fire Pro Wrestling 3 Legend Bout.
Thunder Pro. That was the... It's pretty much Fire Pro, right? But it's by Human, yes.
Yeah.
It's on the Mega Drive, that's right.
That's the Mega... Oh, okay. Yes.
This was the one that was supposed to be Jesse the Body Ventura wrestling, but it didn't happen. So it's a weird kind of off-brand Fire Pro Wrestling, but that comes out this year along with Fire Pro Wrestling 3. So we're covering all the bases here except WCW. Doesn't exist here in 92. There's no game. But Superstars 2 was for the Game Boy. Good game. But now we're here. We're back on the Super Famicom. This is the bread and butter here. This is where Fire Pro Wrestling thrives. And let's read the description here of the game. The Super Famicom is about to get another dose of Super Fire Pro Wrestling mayhem. Super Fire Pro Wrestling 2 expands further than before with a plethora of new moves, a new match type, a new critical system, and much more. Do you have what it takes to ascend to the top of the rankings and become champion?
The critical system introduced here, and now that is a staple in the Fire Pro Wrestling. There's a whole, I don't even know, a lineage of it. Like you just see that critical font on a shirt, like the same way that it appears in the game.
I think that's the coolest part about going back and playing all of these Fire Pro games. We're now 92. We've played Fire Pro World. We've played just about everything in between. There's still a few more that we have to.
There's one more after this. There's Super Fire Pro Wrestling 3, I'm pretty sure.
That's it?
No, I'm saying there's another one after this, directly after this, and then there's a bunch more. But I'm just saying, there's still one more in the Super Fire Pro Wrestling series that we have to do.
Oh, okay, yeah. But it's just cool seeing where we come from, what we're getting to, and I love it. I love that we're able to do that, and I love I love Fire Pro. I'm going to say it right
I
here.
love Fire Pro.
Fire Pro. Let's get into these game modes here. We got the World Championship mode, which is a tournament against the entire roster, but it's points based. So you win, you get 5. You lose, you get nothing. You know, one of those. Exhibition, which is a singles, a tag, or a handicap match. Your elimination, which is a 5-on-5 elimination match. We've done plenty of those. They're very slow. They will take all day. And your open league, which is your tournament for up to 8 players in a round-robin singles competition. Most of this stuff still in the game today.
Yeah.
Of course, you're not getting those death matches and the cages and the exploding barbed wire and all that in 92. We would have loved it in 92, but the Super Famicom has its limitations. But there are things in this game, when it gets to like the gameplay, when you get down to the nitty-gritty, that we were playing it and we were like, this is pretty ahead of its time here. There's some things in here like the poison mist. It changes colors. It could be pink. It could be purple. It could be red.
And what's on your opponent's chest, like what stays on the opponent, changes color based off of
the color.
Ah,
It's really cool. It's really cool. It's just these little things that Fire Pro has had in from the beginning.
Yeah.
That just makes it cool. Even the sweat pouring off your head. Like, there's just things everywhere.
Consulting the list, according to our list, we have 8 Fire Pro Wrestling games left.
Oh, my God. And how many have we played?
I don't know. A lot more than that. And I think I'm pretty sure there's even others that we still have yet to add to the list, but we are single digits.
Single digits. All right.
But this game plays like a Fire Pro, feels like a Fire Pro, and this generation, this early cartridge-based generation of the Fire Pro games, there's a certain the timing is there that you would expect in a Fire Pro, but it's slightly different. The tell for the animation when you lock up is slightly different than what you would expect now. But it works. It's still a lot of fun. The animations are crisp and clean. There's still all the mishaps that we have well demonstrated on this podcast, where you run off the ropes, you dive too close to the edge of the ring, and you're flipping over the ropes to the outside. Like, that's here, and that's still something that's in the game today.
And that's something that even like some WWE games didn't even have.
Oh yeah,
it's
very unique.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, think about today. You're playing 2K. You do a suplex by the ropes. You're not spilling outside the ring.
No, in some instances, I wish that just like automatically happened.
Why not?
Like
it makes sense.
I wish it wasn't something that you had to be like, okay, now I'm going to hit, up and R to do the power bomb lift and then walk around for like. I just was if I did a power bomb and I'm really close to the ring, the person goes out.
Yeah. There was some. You mentioned the grapples.
Yep.
So we're used to Fire Pro now, where it's quicker, it's a lot smoother, where you have that timing base where you go in the grapple. There's that beat, I guess I'll say, like that dun, and then you hit the move.
Yeah.
And you have to get the timing down to know really how to play this game, or else you're going to be lost. You're going to hate it. You can't button mash. This game has that dip in front of it. So it's kind of like you grapple, both of your knees buckle a little bit, and then you hit the move. So pretty much that's what's there still, but you don't see it. And it's
the
quicker.
same. Yeah, the same timing. It's just you don't get that like and go.
Yeah, and there was another game we played not too long ago. I can't think of which one it was that had the dip also, but it was way too long.
Super Fire Pro original.
I think it was an Ultimate Muscle, that like side scrolly one.
Oh yes. I do remember that as well.
Arcade one, I think it was.
But around the holidays, we had played Super Fire Pro Wrestling 1 because of the prize pack that we had, thanks to Mr. Eldersport.
Oh, yeah. I think this was included in it also.
Yeah.
Because when I saw the cover, I was like, this looks familiar. And then I was like, oh, Game Bury. But yeah, pretty cool. So do you want to get into this roster here?
Oh, yeah. This is... It's kind of nice for a Fire Pro roster that it's not... I mean, it's still going to be rough to read through, but...
It's not that many people.
It's not as bad as it could be.
So do you want... we should probably read the real person, right?
Yeah, I would say read the real person. Don't read the Fire Pro name. Unless there's ones that are like funny, I guess.
Yeah, and of course it's All Japan, Rings, New Japan,
Yeah.
FMW, but the Fire Pro versions are the same in
There's
almost every game, so-
WWF/WWE guys. Yeah.
All right, I'll kick us off here.
Yeah. All right. You tag
We've
me in
got-
whenever you're ready.
Abdullah the Butcher, Akira Maeda, Akira Tao, Antonio Inoki, Atsushi Onita, Bam Bam Bigelow, Big Van Vader, Dick Bridge, Dynamite Kid, Junichiro Tenryu, The Great Muta, Hulk Hogan, Jumbo Tsuruta, Jushin Thunder Liger, Taiji Muto. You can go from here.
Masahiro Chono, Masakatsu Funaki, Mitsuharu Musawa, Riki Choshu, Shinya Hashimoto, Stan Hansen, Steve Williams, Tatsumi Fujinami, Terry Gordy, Tiger Jeet Singh, Tiger Mask, Toshiaki Kawada, and Yoshiaki Fujiwara.
So really a good roster of like a
yeah.
little who's who of the time. It's even got Hogan in there. Not as many like WWF, WCW people as most of the Fire Pro games have.
There's not like a separate Fire Pro roster or a separate WWF roster within. There's just names that you've seen in WWE, but there's really only one that's
Just Hogan.
that's tied directly to WWF. But like
Yeah.
Vader,
But
Bam Bam,
Not
at the
Yes,
time
yeah.
not there, but
pretty cool. Pretty cool roster though.
I'll say
It's
stacked roster.
just think of what we get now with the roster. How many
It's
people?
like 5 times the amount of this.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. But let's take a quick break. We're gonna come back. We're gonna talk about the artwork and the art style here.
All right, so let's talk about this cover here in the sense of a, I don't know, wrestling video game cover. It's a wrestling game. It's not the most exciting cover. There's nothing that overtly screams wrestling, aside from the fact that it says pro wrestling and there's a ring on it, but like it's not exciting. There's no wrestlers on the actual cover itself. But the text layout, the logo for the cover, it's very, very 90s.
Very, very 90s.
It's like almost
80s
Microsoft
almost.
Word art style.
Yeah, it's not the typical Fire Pro. There's no fire anywhere.
I was just going to say, not even like within the game, really. There's not even...
Think of what we get later with like X and all that, and like the really cool
there's like
covers.
animated flame backgrounds, like 16-bit, 32-bit flame animations in the background.
This one's lacking. I'm also, as I'm looking at this, I'm picturing like holding it when we had it for Game Boy. It feels like a VHS tape, but we know there's a cartridge inside.
Yeah,
But
it's
pretty nice. It's pretty nice, I guess, for the time.
I mean, it's not bad cover. It's just not.
It's
just not overly exciting.
It's just
you know
a
what it is?
wrestling
We know what they can be and what they will become.
Yeah.
And
George, what does the H stand for in HWA?
hold on. What did you ask?
What does the H stand for in HWA?
The H in HWA? Where's HWA? Oh, it's Human Wrestling Association.
There you go. Good job. Just keeping you on your toes here.
I was just like, where is HWA? I didn't realize it was on the cover. I immediately moved to the back cover.
Those big letters. The back cover also is kind of text. Half of it is legal text or whatever.
Yes. Do you want? Should we do it?
If you want to translate, go for it.
Let's see.
I'm not going to do it. There's the 3 screenshots here, which I'll say, if you know Fire Pro at this time, and you look at the back, this would sell you because it looks like the Fire Pro you know and love. But one thing they've always gotten just down pat, it's the way the ring looks.
All right, you ready for this?
Yeah.
Super Fire Pro is back with even more power. That's the big red text. And then the block of text under it says, powerful wrestlers with more diverse techniques than ever have also appeared. A total of 25 unique wrestlers rampage through the screen. If you connect the commercially available multiplayer 5 for Super Famicom, up to 4 players can play at a time.
Whoa.
And then that bottom little block of text says, it will heat up. What? I can't read what that says. It will heat you up again with a scale and excitement that exceeds our previous work.
Maybe fire you up?
I guess I
Maybe
think
that's
it's
a
just
bad
saying
translation.
that if you liked Super Fire Pro 1, this is even more exciting than that. But if you compare, do a quick Google search, because I don't know if you remember it, because I didn't. Look up the Super Fire Pro Wrestling 1 cover. It's the same text treatment, but there's wrestler on the front.
Hang on, I'm not getting it right away. I'm getting X, I'm getting special. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this just feels like I don't know.
Well, they want the you know what it is when you walk past it in a store. They want to keep the branding, and I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And the cartridge itself also looked cool. I always loved Super Nintendo cartridges. I don't know, maybe because I never owned the console, but they were just always so cool to me how you just popped it in and it just worked. Like there was just some chips in there and like it just worked.
Yeah. I always loved that console. It's on my top 5 for sure.
It's always one I said I would go back and buy, but now there's just like no reason. I could play these games on my phone if I want.
With the advent of emulation, you can get the same exact experience.
I know our buddy Spork, who's been streaming his Super Mario speedruns at the Elder Spork on Twitch. He's been trying to get me to play Mario games, because I make fun of him when he fails.
Should I pitch the idea live on the podcast?
We could do it one day.
I think
maybe we'll go live one day on YouTube or something. And
I think we either make it a OMG test run for Patreon to see how bad we are, and then if it's not embarrassingly bad, maybe we do a live on YouTube and just maybe it's not even competition. It's just let's see if we can together attempt one solid speed run of I don't know, 1, 2. He was speed running Lost levels when I watched him.
Yeah, I'm just so bad. Yeah, me too. Lost levels.
It's just like so bad like a dance. It's just like a routine. You got to know the tricks and when to hit what button and where to I don't know, land on the Koopa head or the Goomba head till you fly up crazy high. It's all timing.
Welcome to the Mario Marks podcast. Anyway, the art style here. You load in, you get the beautiful Fire Pro Wrestling logo flash upon the screen. I would say this looks like the Game Boy versions of Fire Pro, but these came first. So the Game Boy versions are really based on this one here. But I like the moving background. We see that in WWF games at the time as well. Yep. The Fire Pro logo just dancing in the background as you pick your character. I think the menu itself was a little lacking, a little boring.
Yeah, it's very simple. There's not a ton to it, but I guess it's a menu. I feel like we say this all the time. Like, the menu is either, like, when it's cool, we talk about it because it's cool, but when it's not, we're like, it's not that great, but also it's a menu. Like when it's cool, it warrants being talked about. Otherwise, it's just like it's there.
Yeah, but the roster select screen, you get the illustrations of all the wrestlers with their like attributes and points and all that, their skills,
which is very cool.
It looks so cool. You know who everyone is pretty much right off the bat here, and yeah, you can pick. Like everyone we just read, Hogan, there are some mysteries as well that you have to go through the World Championship to unlock. But listen, it's an old Fire Pro game from '92. It's not that hard to just keep going and playing. That's where your longevity is here in this game.
Oh, yeah.
But the cut screens in between and at the end of the game, they're cool. They are full illustrations. You got a guy in the ring with the trophy. Now that's after you win. There's some Easter eggs in there as well. We mentioned the mist. Everything looks so good. I was starting to say before, the ring in every single Fire Pro game looks so nice. The wrinkles on the apron, it's just all there. It's just all there. We noticed cameramen in this one. A lot of Fire Pro games don't have that. The two announcers sitting there.
It's just presentation-wise it's not simple isn't the right word. It's just clean. Like they didn't add too many extras. Like it's exactly what it needs to be. It doesn't. You're not left wanting. Like the crowd looks great. Um the outside of the ring looks great. The guardrails look great. John already talked about the apron and the ring mats. Like there's a gradient on the turnbuckle. Like they're on the post of the turnbuckle. Like that, they don't need to go that detailed in there, but it's there, and it's those little things that just kind of help with the immersion, the experience. You almost kind of forget that you're playing a game on the Super Nintendo or Super Famicom.
Yeah, absolutely. Now there's also this thing here, a built-in debug menu. And this is where you get a cool glitch here in this game. So, what you have to do, you can make the entire roster glitch. You select the Great Muda's Poison Mist, which is labeled whatever it's labeled. Now cycle through the different wrestlers by pressing select up or down. Since the Poison Mist was only intended for Muda, cycling through the rest of the roster will morph every wrestler into Great Muda. In the above photo, Dr. Death Steve Williams has been Mudified.
Huh.
So
it just puts like the face of Muda on the Dr. Death body without the face paint.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah. But let's talk about the mist. We mentioned the mist changes color. The mist leaves the residue on the torso and the face of the wrestler. And there's also a fireball version.
I like the fireball version.
Looks great.
Yeah.
Just the detail in the game is, it's cheesy to say, but it is applicable here. It's like pixel perfect. Like every little detail. John mentioned the sweat. The sweat is the color of whatever the hair or the most dominant color of the wrestler's head is. So Muda's got red face paint. So when he gets hit, red sweat face paint flies off of his head. When Vader gets hit because he's wearing his black and red mask, it's black paint or black, chunks of his mask or black sweat that go flying off. There's so many small little details that, like, maybe if you weren't going through as granular as John and I do with stuff like that, you probably wouldn't notice or even think to call out to yourself. But it's these little things that just, a decision was made, and we might as well talk about it because the decision was made to make those changes.
Did you know? Did you know completing World Championship mode in either singles or tag division unlocks the game's first ending with passwords to title match mode?
Did you know defeating the 24th opponent in the second playthrough of the World Championship mode single division presents the player with a special fight against the first boss character, Kaiji Muto?
Did you know Super Fire Pro Wrestling 2 is on eBay for $4 cartridge only and $20 complete. So not a big one if you want to add it to the collection there.
Not a bad deal at all.
But $4 cartridges didn't look too bad either.
Listen, that's an easy thing to display too. They have like clear acrylic cases for cartridges. They stand up. It's nice. It's a good little display piece.
Mm-hmm.
All right, John.
All right.
Let me know what people have to say about this game. Take me through some ratings and reviews.
Listen, it's Friday night. We're tired. We worked a full week. I got a screaming baby most of the time. Sit back and relax. We need some R&R. We need some ratings and reviews. We got the game FAQ user ratings here. Now, this game is considered a 3.5 out of 5 stars, which is good. The difficulty, 3 out of 5, considered tough. And the length, hours played, averages at around 37 hours. I think that screams replayability right there. And I think this game does have it because you can go through the World Championship mode. Yes, every match is very similar. It is the same, but they're so much fun. There's just something special about not having a health bar and just not knowing, like just feeling it, just knowing that the next move could put your opponent or you away.
The only thing that I think both of us had to say that was even like a slight critique. There are some times where the camera would be a little wonky, may get stuck in a corner, it may get stuck in a weird position where maybe the wrestlers are fighting at like the top of the screen when they shouldn't be, or vice versa. Their camera's in the ring, but you're outside the ring. It's just at certain points the camera did some weird things, and there's no way to break pins or grapples, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, that's something we've struggled with in kind of a bunch of Fire Pro games.
Yeah, it's like all of the earlier titles in the series kind of have that issue where it's just like it was one of the gradual evolutions within the Fire Pro series of games where it's just like we'll start to add that ability, which who knows, maybe that was a complaint that they had heard.
There were a few things in here that weren't that great, and I think let's talk about them, George right now. It's time to rate the game.
The game!
John, Super Fire Pro Wrestling 2. You're going to give it a play it forever, or a future endeavor?
I'll say right away, it's a play forever.
Okay.
I did like it. I liked, like I said, the replayability. It's fun. It's a small roster. You don't need to go through a million pages and all these stables and everything to find someone. You can pick the familiar faces if you want, or you could venture out, maybe pick some of the Japanese names. By now we know who they are, but back then maybe we didn't, and it's cool to see. It's cool to figure out. The cool visuals of the mist and all that. The thing I was talking about I didn't like, some of the camera work is a little wonky, where maybe your guys are down by the bottom corner closest to you. The camera doesn't move that much, so you will never see past that turnbuckle when you should. Unless you go out of the ring, you're not really seeing like that bottom half. So I feel like the camera needed to follow you a little bit better. I also didn't really like the dip before the grapples, but you do get used to it and you can figure it out. And one thing that got me, but this is only because I've played a million Fire Pro games and I still play Fire Pro World, the controls were laid out a little bit differently. It wasn't like, say, I'll just say square as an example, wasn't like grapple. It was actually A or X.
Yeah.
So that kind of threw me off a little bit because I was like, why do I keep giving him an Irish whip? And then I realized, oh, the weak grapple is actually the next button over, and it's not. But that's just because I'm so used to the controls, the modern ones. Play it forever. Long-winded.
What do you mean?
Yes.
No, I'm right there with you though, because there were some things that, like, with the amount of Fire Pro games that we have played, some stuff very intuitive. Like, I think the hardest thing in any Fire Pro grapple or a game for newcomers is the grapple system. It's different. You're so used to just having wrestling games being a button mash, and this is not that game, and they never have been. But once you get past that, yeah, it plays like every other Fire Pro game. But yeah, with those some weird differences that kind of hinder this game. Is it my favorite Fire Pro wrestling game in the lineup? No, but it functions and plays the exact same way as the other as the other games do. So now you can
should
me up and I'll
George,
give my rating.
Play it forever, future endeavor.
It's play it forever.
Okay.
But yeah. For the same reasons that you said, it's just, yeah, it's not the best Fire Pro game, but it's still Fire Pro game, and there's a ton to like about it.
Double play it forever. One thing I was also going to mention, we should have talked about with the roster, everyone is jacked. Everyone is svelte. Whether you're Bam Bam Bigelow, whether you're Vader, you're all the same body type. So everyone's got Yokozuna effect from, what was that, Raw or Royal Rumble? One of those.
Yeah. No, you're right. It's Royal Rumble. Yokozuna's got the same sprite body as everyone else.
He's just got that like beer belly.
Oh, All right. Well, with that, we want all of you to let us know what you thought about this game somewhere on the internet, preferably social media, but it could be YouTube as well, at Game Marks Pod.
You know what? You know what it is? Sorry.
No.
There's just something about an older game that has no load time.
It's
a cartridge. It's simple. You're in a game within a minute, and that's it. It's just simple. That's it. It's just easy.
And I want to say like, oh, we're playing on an emulator. It's of course it
doesn't matter.
But like, it doesn't. The cartridge game's always loaded faster. Like, the longest cartridge load time is still like miles ahead of what a regular load time in a game is now. That's a great point.
Anyway.
But with that, John, are you ready to get into this week's soft lock question?
Yes, I like this one.
All right, the soft lock brought to you by our friends over at Dubby. Again, make sure to use code GameMarksPod. Save yourself 10% at dubby.gg. The soft lock is a segment of this podcast where I'm just realizing now, John, what are we calling the people? Are they still Megamarks? The Patreon changed.
They could still be Megamarks.
All right. It is a segment where one of our Megamarks from our Patreon gives us a topic to debate, a question to answer. It's a question of the week with a fancy name. This week, it comes from Hoker. Steve Hoker would like
one of the OGs.
Would like us to answer. Have you ever called out or scheduled a vacation day at work on a release day of a game just so you can play all day? And then said that he may or may not have done this with GTA.
Yes.
Yes, 100%. I have as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the game?
So I did it for the Diablo 3 release.
Okay.
So that was 2012.
2012. I gotta actually look up the date. I've mentioned many times Gears of War 2.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I remember it being either Gears or you didn't do anything for Halo, right?
No, never Halo. That was too early because the first one I got after Christmas of 2008 was Gears of War 2. Wow. That was really the first midnight release I ever even went to. Like, I didn't know it was the thing.
Did you ever do a midnight release for a console?
I always get consoles after they're out a while. I don't think I've ever gotten one actually on launch.
I worked retail for the Nintendo Wii release. That was.
I showed you
lines around the building. It was crazy.
I showed you that picture from years ago. My friend, she was sleeping on the bed of Wii's when they came out and got fired from GameStop because of it. Yeah. Fun stuff.
Oh, man. So your game's Gears. I'm Diablo 3.
I remember Gears just being on that line and everyone's so hyped. You're there with people that are all there for the same reason. Like, you could be playing with these people later. You could even be like swapping gamer tags at this time. Like, this doesn't happen anymore. The kids don't know what a midnight. You download it now. You just download it. You get it at midnight. It's probably going to take 2 hours to download whatever it is, and you can't play right away. I remember playing till at least 3-4 in the morning that first night, waking up after a little bit of sleep. Everyone got back on. Now, I didn't know Gears of War until I started hanging out with my friends that are still my best friends now. I didn't know it. So when they had the 360 and they showed me this game, I was hooked like immediately. I'm like, oh, I play Madden. But we all went. It was great. But the downfall of that was then I wanted to go to a midnight release for everything. I went Modern Warfare 2. I even went some Maddens. But then there were some games that I would pre-order, like, I don't know, like WWE, like SmackDown vs. Raw. And there was no midnight release. And I'd get there like early at GameStop. And they'd be like, what's your name? And open a giant drawer of WWE games.
Here's your game. Have a good day.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I didn't even need to pre-order that.
This wasn't exciting at all.
And I was too cheap to ever get like the deluxe edition with the bonuses. So
my pre-order day off bit me in the ass. So what happened was
Spider for the Nintendo.
Diablo 3 released, and it was down for 2 days.
No,
because there was an error. So you tried to log in, and something happened. And it was like you always just got this error code, and they weren't able to fix it and patch the game for like a majority of people for like 2 days. It was bad, and like waited like 11 years for this game. It was 11 years between Diablo 2 expansion and Diablo 3.
I'm reading about it right now.
Error, I just looked it up. Error 37.
37. The servers are busy. Please try. Oh my god, I would have flipped out.
It was terrible.
So did you go to work, or you just kept the off day?
No, because they didn't tell anybody that it was going to be, like 2 days. They were just like, we're actively working to try to fix it. So like, try in the morning.
Can you imagine that now?
Oh yeah, people would riot.
The game would be dead in the water.
You would, because it was like me and a couple of friends took over. We're like, we're gonna go through the whole like campaign together, like, and we like took shifts. It was just like, okay, you go do whatever you got to do. I'm gonna check every couple of minutes and see if they're up, and I'll text the group if it comes back up. And it was like a whole day, and it didn't come up, and we're just like, do we do this again tomorrow? Like, should we just go into work?
Yeah, there's no Twitter for you to find out.
Oh, it was rough.
Simpler times.
Yeah,
simpler
times. It's not fun. But let us know what you guys did for your release day. Did you have a group that you pre-ordered? Did you have a group that you took off work with and played through campaigns and multiplayer? I know a bunch of people who did it with Call of Duties. I think you talked about that, how like eventually you were doing that. I know tons of people who did it with like World at War and Modern Warfare. But let us know
too.
At Game Marks Pod somewhere on the internet. John, what are we doing next week on the podcast, man?
So I didn't really talk to you about this one, but this just popped into my head. We're going to do another best and worst of, but this time it's going to be mini games in wrestling games.
Are there enough?
Oh, there's enough. There's enough. Just think, we just got a full game only a year ago.
I was saying,
that's full of mini games.
And then,
there's
SmackDown
I guess
versus
Raw.
Day of Reckoning, Scott, technically. Not Day of Reckoning.
19.
I
wouldn't call those mini games, but don't worry.
It's non-wrestling content. But yeah, I'm excited. I like this. Best and worst of wrestling mini games. All right. All right. I'm on board. Guys, youtube.com/GameMarksPodcast for all of our videos. GameMarksPod.com/shop for our exclusive merchandise. ProWrestlingTees.com/GameMarksPod for all of our shirts. Patreon.com/PodExchange. That's PodXChange for this show. Early, ad-free access to show notes, shared content between this show, State of Affairs, and Going Postal. It is the only way to watch Clash at the Feast Evolution, OMG, monthly watch-alongs with Shoes and Swoggle, and a whole lot more at Game Marks Pod on all forms of social media. And please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and if you would be so kind as to review and rate this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you choose to listen. And finally, if you have a product or service that you'd like to advertise on this podcast, please reach out to us at GameMarksPod@gmail.com. Johnny Clash, whenever you're ready, sir, do that thing.
Game over. Marks.
Game Marks Podcast, put them on the radar. Playing rare games, Sega Saturn, no Game Shark. Johnny and George work hard and they play hard. Future endeavor games and put them in the graveyard. From the deep dive to the Clash at the Feast. How can I get more? That's question of the week. Follow on Twitch, there's nothing that they won't play. Game Marks Podcast every single Monday.